Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ukraine Cinematic Universe. And there's more of a show today than I thought there was going to be. We have Budanov. Oops. That's just boomer tech. We have Budanov trying to do a remake of Thunderball. We have Macron just having a midlife crisis and just completely fucking losing it. We have more snakenings than you can shake a stick at. Before we go any further, I'm just going to post in the video if you want to see the various sources that I have put together for this. Then it should all be right there. There are a lot of them, but I've really been trying to do this more lately because, frankly, I just getting really tired of all the the fake news that I have to deal with people just posting shit with no source or stuff like that. So I actually have too many sources. It's not going to let me post them all there, but there's most of my sources. It's good to hear that, Fritz. I'm happy for you, man. So, before we get into today's show, I just had a bit of a monologue I wanted to give. So, for the vast majority of this conflict, have not said that I hate Zelensky. I've made fun of him. I've done stuff, but I've never said that I fundamentally hate him as a person. That changed with the Battle of Avdiavka and his refusal to let his men withdraw or even surrender when it was clear that they were completely fucked. Like, he didn't even give them the order to surrender when they were completely encircled. They were no longer able to resist. He just left them out there to die. And I felt that was completely, that was disgusting behavior. And Zelensky, Sirski, Darkside Brandon, Victoria Nuland, all these people, they don't deserve the Ukrainian army. They don't deserve these brave men and women who have fought against horrific odds under horrendous circumstances to protect what they view as defending their country. I think the Ukrainian army has done more than anyone realistically could have expected them to do. They've had to put up with... Well, okay, you're led by Sirski, Zelensky, Zaluzhny, Darkside Brandon, and Macron. These are the guys who are telling you what to do. You have to deal with these F-slurs. They're the ones making it. Like, I talk about the Ukraine Cinematic Universe. They're living it. And they're still able to, keep fighting. I mean, they're losing, and it looks like they're losing fairly bad, but they haven't broken down or run away yet. So... I just want to say they have a lot of respect for me. And Zelensky and Zaluzhny and all these retards, they don't deserve to have men of that conviction and that courage fighting for them and their retardation, because they don't appreciate them. So I just wanted to start off by saying that, because when I did that stream a week or two ago, where it came out that they had no plans to maintain any of the equipment they gave Ukraine. The Americans just gave them the equipment. They didn't give them spare parts or anything. It's just this is what they have to fucking deal with, is morons like this. So that is just kind of the opening monologue. So, all right, we will get to the Ukrainian invasion of Russia in a minute. So there was an article that came out in Russia Today that I'm not going to read, that basically was apparently a leaked report from the French General Staff that more or less confirmed all the talking points that the, I guess you could say, I don't know, the people who are pro-Russia, not even just the pro-Russia people, but just the people who disagree with the mainstream narrative have, basically just laid out. And it was only published by one other person who just directly copied and pasted the article from Russia Today. And I could not find this anywhere else. So honestly, I'm gonna, if there's no source other than RT, I'm not gonna report on it, to be honest. There's a couple other things like that. Like during this Macron speech, someone was trying to tell me like something, and I'd put a video on this up, and then I took it down because I realized it was kind of like bullshit what people were saying. But there was a fair amount of like fake news stuff that I had to take out of it, and it's really annoying. So let's get started. Okay, so we have some cope. We have some delicious. There's a lot of cope going down at the moment. At least 30,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded in Avdiavka. So let's just think about this for a minute. So Zelensky has claimed, and this was not very long ago, that 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have died. So I know it says dead and wounded, but just stick with me here for a minute. So the assault on Avdiavka cost the Russians as many casualties as Ukraine has lost this entire conflict, this one battle. Bakhmut, definitely, they claimed was like 50,000 Russians died. So we're supposed to believe that the last... because RT is state-funded media. I don't believe Rega Talk. I don't believe the stuff the Ukrainian government puts out. So I just that's my thought on it. It okay. If something's too good to be true, it probably is. Also, I don't believe what the Ukrainian government... In fact, I'm making fun of what they put out right now. So, the last 2 years, the initial invasion, the spring offensive, Bakhmut, Mariupol, Kherson, all of these things, the Ukrainians lost like the same number of guys doing that the Russians lost in one battle. I think that is 100% likely. Let's see here, and this is a Galaxy tier cope. Russia lost over 400 tanks. Now this is something you see with the Ukrainian army a lot. So they've been claiming for like the last couple weeks that they've been shooting down like one, what are they, F-34s? Whatever the Russian main jet fighter is, they keep shooting them down. And they claim basically on a weekly basis that they're shooting them down. And to my knowledge, they've never shown evidence for any of it. They've never shown like a wrecked plane. The Russians have never confirmed it. They just keep reporting that they're shooting them down, and the BBC and whoever just publishes that they shot them down. And that's pretty much how things have been going. Let's see here. Let's see. This is a lie. Ukrainian troops withdrew from the embattled town this weekend after intense fighting throughout the winter. That is actually a lie. What happened was Syrskyi wouldn't let them retreat, and he sent in Azov and a bunch of other elite divisions to try to counterattack to retake Avdiavka. And they got their asses kicked, and basically the Ukrainian army there shattered and started running away. And like a day into their route, Syrskyi ordered a retreat to make it look like the whole thing was his idea. So this is a lie. So it's actually a victory. It's actually a victory for Ukraine, the Battle of Avdiavka. Not only was this not important, we've never seen a picture. I don't think we've ever actually seen video of these meat wave assaults. They just happen. It's just the way that the Russians do it. The Russians they just run at their enemies. That's how they function. They use shovels, and we'll get into that in a second. They use shovels. They do meat wave assaults. The Russian government is so evil that they're willing to spend like X hundreds of thousands of dollars to fully train a new recruit, then send them to battle and just have them charge machine guns. Um, that is the logic that we're supposed to accept the Russian army operates under. That they are that literally retarded. That they would recruit someone, spend a whole year training them, get them all their equipment and stuff, and then just have them run at a machine gun with no backup. The White House warned on Thursday Russia could take control of the town, blaming a lack of artillery ammunition, in part caused by Republicans blocking more aid to Ukraine. That's not true. Russia pummeled the outnumbered Ukrainian forces with artillery and hundreds of glide bombs. I don't really get why the Ukraine... I know I keep bringing this up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so once again, Ukraine has taken, according to Zelensky, 31,000 people have died. Russia has lost 90% of its pre-war army. How are they outnumbered? Like, it's, even given Russia's larger population, if you look at the statistics that Zelensky gave, it was like 6 or 7 to 1. It's not like the Russian army should not be able to basically do anything at this point in time. Okay, there are no figures on Ukrainian losses, meaning that there was none. So yeah, that happened. So that was a fucking disaster, but it was somehow a win. It was a victory. We have this bit of delusion from Zelensky. We're actually winning. This is good. The frontline situation is better than in prior 3 months. It's better. It's okay. Let me see here. Let's just look at this again because I keep bringing this up. So, there's Bakhmut. Where's Avdiavka? Is that Avdiavka? I can never remember where these places are. It's all Slavic to me. There we go, Avdiavka. So, to my understanding, the Ukrainians do not have any significant amount of fortifications between Avdiavka and the Dnieper. That was pretty much it. And we're going to look at an article in a minute. Actually, maybe we'll look at that now. That says that there is no fortifications west of it. Here we go. So this is from far-right pro-Russian news source, Yahoo News. Ukraine didn't build defenses it most needed in a key area when it had the chance, and now it's got a problem. So we'll get to this article in a second, but so Avdiivka was one of the most fortified places probably on Earth. I mean, obviously you have the Korean DMZ and stuff like that, but definitely the most fortified place in Ukraine. So it fell. To my understanding, there's basically nothing. There's just wide open plains between there and the Dnieper. Russia spent like 6 months building their the Surovikin line. That was like 6 to 8 I don't know what the term would be. 6 to 8 different layers. 6 to 8 different layers. The Ukrainians never even got past the first one, but no. So we have this. This is from, like I said, far-right pro-Russian news source Business Insider. Ukraine missed the opportunity to build strong defensive fortifications outside of Avdiivka. Ukraine's military has resorted to crowdfunding to procure construction equipment? What? Huh? Oh, this gets weirder by the day. So, like, so what people were saying, and this is, I think, what Zelensky was saying, is it was pretty clear, like 2 or 3 months ago, that Avdiavka was going to fall. I mean, it's been, um, yeah, Airbended. I'll get to it in a second. Is that Avdiavka was going to fall? So, like, take whatever time you have, because they threw all these men into Avdiivka for a delay. So taking the bad fight might have made strategic sense had they taken the time that they were throwing troops into the meat grinder to just start building trench lines. Just go crazy and just build as many defenses as possible. I don't know how much they realistically could have done. I don't know how hard it is in Ukraine to do that during the winter. But they could have done that. They didn't, though, so there's nothing. Now, there are still fortified cities and stuff like that, but the main Ukrainian defenses, which were in Donbass, centered, from my understanding, around Bakhmut and Avdiivka. And there's not really another, I think, major urban fortified center between there and the Dnieper. So they decided not to. So let's see what this article says. Ukrainian forces outside recently captured Avdiivka, are outgunned, shorting critical supplies, and fight against the Russian advance from defensive positions that are far from formidable, according to recent reporting. Planning missteps and various shortages saw Ukraine miss the opportunity to build up defense lines in a key sector of the front, meaning Ukraine's military may now have to do it while fending off Russian attacks, which could make this endeavor exponentially more difficult. No shit. So actually what had happened, I'm not sure if it shows it on this map. So they managed to rally some of the guys who were fleeing Avdiivka, and Syrskyi sent in some more reserves. So they did like another big epic counter defensive. They counterattacked, and they actually managed, I think, to push the Russians back a bit. But once again, if you concentrate all your forces in one location, you can gain local superiority and you can push your opponent back. Like, let's say your opponent has 1,000,000 men and you have 100,000. If you concentrate like most of your men in one location, you will be able to achieve local superiority, and you will be able to make a small, like, take some territory, but it's going to be extremely expensive. So they launched a series of counterattacks, all of which were an unmitigated disaster. And yeah, so let's see here. The quality of these defensive lines cannot be good enough to resist massive bulldozer tactics by the Russian forces. Now, as we've said, where is it? Where's the one on the shovels? The shovels. Just give me a second. So, I don't know what they're talking about, because I remember that. Does anyone remember this? Russian troops are forced to fight with shovels. I mean, now they have bulldozers, so I guess they upgraded a bit. He said Ukraine has not placed enough emphasis on building defenses, but also shortages in manpower and equipment have been a problem. What shortage in manpower? Zelensky said Ukraine has taken... Okay, so once again, Zelensky has said, and we've gone over this multiple times, Ukraine has an army of 800,000 to 1,000,000 men, yeah? And he's taken 31,000 casualties, or 31,000 deaths. How are they having a manpower shortage? Like, once again, it's insulting to, like, my intelligence and your intelligence and everybody's intelligence that he would lie in such a retarded fashion like that. He could have just not given casualty numbers and said that's like a strategic secret, but we've sacrificed a lot. Or he could have given like a semi-sane number. Russia's made further gains since the capture of Avdiavka, recently capturing 3 villages in a week's time, but experts say the terrain may complicate the Russian advance. If it slows the Russians, it might give Ukraine time to build up and improve its defenses, but only time will tell. I mean, they had like literally a year. Except Avdiavka went on for a really long time. So like this is going to be it. Like they didn't do it the previous 6 months. Now we're going to have the really big one. And sorry, once again to go back to a New York Times article. By the way, do people like these now that I've like started doing show prep for these and I have like the articles ahead of time? Some of the things I still have to just look up as we're going through, but I like to. I think the show's been a lot more. It's been a lot better. So yeah, so like Russia built this. This is like one of their things. You have vehicle obstacles, trench, dragon teeth, trench, supply dumps. There's a minefield there. So it is like, it is hardcore. It is hardcore. So let's see here. The results of satellite imagery told the Times do not yet constitute a formidable defense line. Elements of Ukraine's military have taken up crowdfunding as a way to source money for construction equipment like excavators. This equipment can be expensive to acquire, though, as an excavator and a utility vehicle combined cost over $70,000. Well, these fundraising efforts have been successful on a smaller scale. On a large scale, Ukraine is, as it has been now, still waiting for the much-needed aid from the U.S., which is stalled in So this is the logic. If Ukraine only had the $70,000, if they had the $70,000 to buy the tractor, to buy the bulldozer, then everything would work out. Is I guess what we're supposed to believe. Like, where did the $100 billion go? Like, they couldn't have bought a couple bulldozers for that much money. They're having to do this fucking crowd. Like, none of this makes any kind of sense. I don't think wars are normally fought this way. So let's see what Zelensky says. So Zelensky says the situation is fucking great. Said Ukraine has improved its strategic position despite shortage of weaponry, but suggested the situation could change again if new supplies are not forthcoming. The situation is much better than it has been over the past 3 months. We have had difficulties because of the shortage of artillery shells and air blockade, Russian long-range weapons, and the great intensity of Russian drone attacks. We have recovered in our situation. The east advance of Russian troops has been stopped. Yeah, no, I mean, it hasn't. You lost Avdiavka. So, like, I guess this is the logic. Like, okay, down large numbers of Russian aircraft. Yeah, they keep claiming they're shooting down them, like, on a regular basis. I don't think they've ever provided any evidence that they're shooting them down, but it doesn't really matter. They have managed to sink a couple of ships, and while that sucks, and while the it probably is gonna, like, it is a lot of money and time and stuff, but it's not really a naval war. It's, once again, it's this part of the whole cinematic universe thing is whenever Ukraine gets like a minor W, it's portrayed as being like a Russia's lost the war moment. Like, Ukraine has a large, well-equipped army with modern weapons. Of course they're going to be able to shoot stuff. Like, this isn't like Kuwait. This isn't like just some random no, but they constantly say this. We'll get into that, like, almost entirely, constantly. So, yeah. So they 2 drones hit a fuel facility. They fired some drones. I don't know. I don't actually see anywhere here. So basically, they're saying that okay, we lost our only remaining like fortification east of the Dnieper, but we blew up a couple ships in the Black Sea, which like once again, I mean it sucks. Like they're expensive, but it's not as if the war comes down to ships in the Black Sea. But because we did that and because we lost, we sent some drones over the border. That means that this is actually a W and that we're in a better position by losing. So that's cool. Let's see here. We have we have another one of like, I don't know if this counts as the snakening or just retardation. It's kind of hard to tell. So we've been hearing about the F-16s for the last like 2 years now. And the number keeps going down. The number keeps getting scaled down. They said there's going to be 45, and they're like, you know what? We're going to have to push it back again. Ukraine's going to get 6, though. They're going to get 6 F-16s, and those 6 F-16s are going to make all of the difference. Like, this is the level we've reached. That we're sending literally 6 jets. Against, what is it the Russians use? F-34s? Sukhoi 34. It's not the F-34, it's the Sukhoi 34. Okay. I got the number right, but not that. Okay, so yeah. So they're going to go up against the relatively new Sukhoi 34s. That is 100% what's going to happen. And those 7, let me see, how many Sukhoi 34s has Russia built? Like over 100. Those 100 are going to lose to the 6 F-16s. I don't think that, like, once again, what are the okay, so I want to play a little game. So, what are the odds that America has learned from its mistakes and there is a maintenance plan for these? That there's a maintenance plan, that there's spare parts, that there's a plan to keep these jets functioning as soon as they drop them off in Ukraine. I'm going to have to say there's a 0% chance. Also, like, Russia has glide bombs and cruise missiles. Can't they just blow up the airport? Like, where they keep these? It's just, it's I don't know. It's the wonder weapon, guys. It's somehow going to turn everything around. So, according to David Axe, good old David Axe, the war is turned around. It's over. Everybody can go home. The Czech Republic stopped Putin and saved Ukraine. It's like saving Christmas. This was the scheme they came up with, where they took all the money and then they spent the money on like the international arms market they put it on the international arms market and bought them from like shady people, I guess. And that was the plan. Now, let's just take a look at this. After all, a single gun firing 50 shells a day is about as useful as 2 guns each firing 25. No, it is not. It is not at all, because let's say each one has like 100 barrel durability. They're gonna last. Having more artillery means that it's going to last longer. Sorry, that was not very well explained at all. You get what I mean, though. The M777. Okay, it's been saved. It's over. It's the new wonder weapon. The new it's the howitzer. The Russians don't have artillery. They don't have howitzers. So it's just gonna go. Okay, so let's get into okay, before we get into like our featured story, we have the first Abrams tanks have been destroyed. So this is, I've seen this from a couple different sources. So an M1 Abrams decided, so because once again the Ukraine really doesn't have much left. They've taken such heavy casualties in Avdiavka and in other parts of the front. They've started to have to deploy their Abrams. So they've started sending Abrams in. So we had a tank on tank battle where a T-72B3 fired one shot and blew up the M1. It got just completely wrecked. So yeah, that was one. There's only, I think, 31 Abrams. So I think we're up to like 4 or 5 at the moment that have been destroyed. So like 20% of them have been destroyed. Once again, what is the deal with sending Ukraine like, how many did it say there was again? 31. What's the point in sending Ukraine 31 of this complex piece of equipment that their boys aren't trained properly on? Like, it's, I don't know. It's so weird. So they took off the Abrams. Their big thing was their armor. That's what the Abrams is known for. Their depleted uranium armor that I don't think has ever like been actually penetrated frontally. The ones they gave them though didn't have the special armor. They took the armor off of the M1s and they just sent them. So I love this. The M1 is known for its advanced armor, firepower, and mobility, while the T-72B3 is known for its robustness, cost-effectiveness, and ease of maintenance. I like how they say it like it's a bad thing. Choboham armor. Okay. The M1 has an edge due to its advanced armor technology. Apparently it doesn't. Apparently it doesn't have the advantage because it just got completely like destroyed. And this is the third or fourth one that's been destroyed. So that's cool. Okay, so we have the I guess kind of one more quick thing before we get into the super duper invasion. So in the last month, Russia has destroyed at least 2, I've heard 3 Patriot missile launchers. Now, I don't know how many of them Ukraine actually got, but these are like, I think, over $1 billion each. Patriots routinely shoot down Iskanders. No, they don't, but only when the batteries are employed in alert. According to this, and this is Forbes, far-right pro-Russian news source Forbes, up to 13% of their air defenses got destroyed in one attack. In a single attack, they got destroyed. And Russia's blown up a bunch of other ones. So it's just like, these things are not replaceable. I mean, the U.S. doesn't even have any. So, yeah. Patriot PAC-2 missiles have swatted down dozens of Russian aircraft. If you believe Ukrainian claims, which I don't, hundreds of drones and missiles. So yeah, it's they took out these patriots, and this is our buddy David Axe. Um, okay, so the invasion. So I'm gonna we have this like insane plan. Where is it? So Ukraine decided, you know what, guys? It worked so well the last time. We lost Avdiavka. Things are going bad. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go on the offensive again. We are gonna invade Russia. We had Zelensky claim the western half of Russia. We're gonna make it the Vladivostok. This is the new plan. This is the new plan. It's the old plan. We're gonna invade Russia. So most people seem to think that this is a Giesler op to try to affect the Russian election. I don't really know how that would even work at this point in time, but it's just a small cross-border raid. Oh, we have this. The Liberty of Russia Legion. The Liberty of Russia Legion. 100% these guys are real. This real organization, the do-it-yourself Ukrainian Foreign Legion of Russian dissidents. The people who are 100% real and not not invented by the U.S. 30 miles north of Ukrainian city. Launched a cross-border raid. Recruits Russians who oppose the regime of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. Its 2 battalions, each with a few hundred people, previously fought in Avdiavka in eastern Ukraine. The Legion seemingly ran into trouble at the checkpoint where one of its T-64 tanks ran over a mine, but enough legionaries got through. It's a difficult night for any counterattacking Russians. That's cool. They're posting on Twitter that they captured a village. It's the beginning of the end, guys. That one village that they briefly captured is going to do it. So they wound up doing this. I think it said that they lost something like 8 tanks. It was 7 or 8. Let me see. Where is that? It was. I'm trying to find where it's located. I think I'm trying to find it. Anyways, the Russian report was that they had lost like 1,000. It was I don't know if it was 1,000, but it was a lot of guys. And they lost a bunch of tanks. I think it was something like, I don't remember which source it. That's the problem with having this many sources. But they did this attack into Russian territory. The 100% Freedom of Russia Legion and Russian Volunteer Corps, totally not the CIA, totally not a fake organization. Okay, here we go. We come not to kill, erase, or punish. We come to live, to liberate you from poverty, from the dictatorship of a terrorist organization that seized power, to give your children a normal, civilized future where they can have their genitals cut off, without sanctions, without repression, without elections, without choice. Based? I think. Now, this reminds me of something. If we'll just do a little field trip. This reminds me of something from StarCraft. Let's see here.
This vessel is top of the line. Don't know what that is. We not a freedom for you.
Here we
we
go.
come not as conquerors, but as liberators, to return freedom to the people. Here's some freedom for you. And here's some freedom for you. Oh, and Mama's got a whole lot of freedom for you. If there's a piece of ground you want...
There we go. So, the Freedom of Russia Legion. So they launched this attack. Now, the claim I've heard, and I don't know if this is true or this is complete bullshit, but apparently near the Russian border with Ukraine, there is a Russian nuclear weapons facility somewhere nearby. So the claim that I've heard, and I haven't been able to find any corroborating sources, but I think it's worth mentioning, is that this is like Budanov. This was part of his master plan to recreate the plot of the movie Thunderball. Classic James Bond movie, lot of fun. But the idea, I think, was that they were going to cross the border here and try to pull Russian troops away who were guarding a nuclear weapons facility. And then they were going to attack the nuclear weapons facility, like hold the nukes hostage, and then use that like to force Russia to do something. I think that is, I don't know if this is true or not, but that sounds like something Budanov would do because he thinks he's in a Bond movie. Once again, Budanov, like, he looks like a Bond villain. Like, he thinks he's Blofeld. Like, let's bring this guy up. Like, look at him. Does this look like a guy who would launch, like, an attack across the border to try to steal nuclear weapons? 2 nuclear weapons from NATO in order to extort the free world from hundreds of millions of dollars in diamonds? I think he does. So, I don't know. People can believe what they will, but my understanding is that was the scheme. Russia apparently found out about this scheme ahead of time, and they got... yeah. Oh, yeah, the hand bridge. Yeah, Budanov. So, as best as I can determine, this whole thing was a total shit show. And yeah, they just decided to attack they decided they were going to invade. They were going to invade Russia. How they thought that this was going to work out, I don't know. But that's the plan. That was the plan. So that ended as a complete and total disaster. I don't know if they actually conquered any territory. I mean, the only thing that they could really, like... that guy kind of looks like Chuck Norris. Doesn't he? A bit? Like a young Chuck Norris? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe he's Russian Chuck Norris. So... also, keep in mind that the U.S. has said repeatedly that they do not support Ukraine invading Russia. So they keep going in and doing that. So yeah, so they lost a bunch of guys. They lost like 6 or 7 tanks. They lost a bunch of Bradleys. The whole thing was a total shit show. We had these clowns. Does Ukraine really have like the weapons and like soldiers? I think these are like special forces too. Do they really have the special forces to like send to invade like a random Russian border town? I don't know. Like it's just so fucking weird. So we have that. One second, what's this? Okay, so that article, it looks like it's been brought down. Sorry. Throat's just hurting. So, we're gonna play a little bit of before and after. So, CNN put out an article that more or less admitted that they were wrong about everything, but we're gonna take a look at this. So, this is from last year. Russian artillery fired down nearly 75%, U.S. officials say, in latest sign of struggles for Moscow. Russia is low on artillery supplies. They're out of ammo. they're just out. Russia has had to resort to 40-year-old shells as their supply of new ammo has dwindled. So Russia's on its last legs. They have no ammunition left. We're going to be outgunning them soon. And now we have this that came out like 3 days ago. Russia producing 3 times more artillery shells than the US and Ukraine combined. So I don't know why Ukraine put this up. I'm going to consider part of this is part of the snakening, because like it's them basically just saying they're fucked. Okay, so Russia appears on track, and this is from March 11th, and this is from far right pro Russian source CNN. Russia's producing about 250,000 artillery munitions per month, or about 3 million a year, according to NATO intelligence estimates of Russian defense production. You mean like the same NATO guys who said that Russia was out of artillery last year? Those same analysts? Wait a minute, is this the same people? Holy shit. It is the same people. Son of a bitch. It's the same people. What? What? Okay. Collectively, the U.S. and Russia have the capacity. Europe have a capacity to supply only about 1.2 million munitions annually to send to Kiev. I think Russia's is actually higher than that. It's like, I don't know. I think it's more. I've heard what I had heard was 4-1. Now the U.S. has actually been able to ramp up its artillery production. The EU hasn't, because the EU is just fucking dead at the wheel. They're just completely out to lunch. The U.S. goal is set to produce 100,000 rounds of artillery a month by the end of 2025, less than half of Russia's monthly output. And even that number is now out of reach, with $60 billion to Ukraine stalled in Congress, a senior army official told reporters last week. Here, just a kind of a side note, something to keep in mind. This is assuming that Russia is not increasing its military production. This assumes that Russia will be producing the same amount of shells in a year and a half that they're producing now, that they have no intention to increase it. Once again, and I've said this many times, it's not as if the U.S. can send all of those artillery shells to Ukraine. They have them for their own army. The Europeans buy them. The Japanese buy them. The South Koreans buy them. They took all those shells from South Korea. They can't give all of them to that. Russia can commit basically all of its artillery. I'm sure they put some aside in case NATO gets involved. But they can put aside as much as they want. They can use all of that. So also Israel. Don't forget about Israel. And 10% for the big guy. So officials say Russia is currently firing 10,000 shells a day compared to 2,000 a day from the Ukraine side. The ratio is worse in some places. Where was that article again? Where was it? What was that they were saying about the Russians were fighting with shovels. Russians were fighting with shovels. CNN's now telling me that they aren't using shovels. They have guns. Once again, like when we talk about the whole North Korea shell, like I don't really get how the North Korea shell thing is an L for Russia. I don't know how good the quality is, but if North Korea produces like decent quality shells at a decent price, I don't really get like why Russia's retarded for wanting more ammunition than they need. Like, isn't that maybe I'm not a military guy, but I feel like if you only need 10,000 shells a day, you might as well have more, because then you can build a reserve, and then if you can fire more. To me, more firepower is normally a good thing. Most perilous moment. Meanwhile, Russia. Okay, so Russia war machine in full gear. Russia is running its artillery factories 24/7 on rotating 12-hour shifts, the NATO officials said. About 3.5 million Russians now work in the defense sector. Russia is also importing ammunition, at least 300,000 from Iran, probably more than that, the officials said. North Korea, they're buying ammunition for. Russia has put everything they have in the game, the intelligence officials said. Their war machine works in full gear. Now, from my understanding, how it works is because Russia's defense industry is state-owned, they maintain a high capacity even when it's not economically feasible. So they maintain a lot of factories that even if they aren't being used, and they maintain having the personnel to operate them, which is a big drain on the budget, but it means when stuff like this, they're able to do it. So a rough equivalent. Okay, so Russia's ramp up is still not enough to meet its needs. They're still using shovels, guys. U.S. and West officials say, and Western officials do not expect Russia to make major gains on the battlefield in the short term, except for Avdiavka. Like, what? Huh? So, but they lost like the most important remaining fortified city. I don't know, but still far beyond. Yeah. So Russia. So okay. So the situation's bad. Russia's somehow still in a worse situation. Russia's not going to be able to make any offensives aside from the offensive they made. In Ukraine, the same. Okay, so German defense company announced. Okay, so this is the other scam. This is like one of the biggest grifts I've ever seen. So German defense companies have started to say, we're going to build weapons factories in Ukraine. How the fuck are they going to do that? Like, is the expectation Russia's just going to let them build the weapons factory? Like, they're not going to immediately shoot it? They're not going to bomb it? They're just going to, because they're going to say where it is. So Russia is going to let them build this massive ammo factory in Ukraine that they will know where it is, and they will not shoot at it for the entire year in which it's being built. And then once it starts producing shells, they still won't attack it. Can someone explain to me how this is that the assumption that they're going off of? U.S. and Western officials insist that Russia has been able to jumpstart its factory lines, and because it has the advantage of being a managed economy under the control of an autocrat. Capitalist Western nations will eventually catch up and produce better equipment. Dude, that is a galaxy tier cope. That is like... You had 2 years and you're nowhere near. You've had 2 years and you have no weapons left. You've given them all away. It's a complete and total shit show. Also, we're under the idea that Russia's not a okay. Let's just look at this again. Okay. I always bring this up because I keep seeing this and it irritates me that Russia is a communist country. Okay, so the taxation rate in Russia is 20%. The tax rate in Russia is, I think, substantially lower than it is in the United States. Let's see here. Okay, so income tax... okay, so in Belgium it goes up to 80%? Wow. Okay, so let's see. What is the corporate tax rate in Russia? The corporate tax rate in Russia is 20%. In the United States, it is... Where's America? Is it, what is it? Is it under USA? $21. Okay, so America has a higher corporate tax rate than Russia does. Has a higher, okay, so it has a higher corporate tax rate. No, that's what Europe is like. No, I mean they do, but the point I'm trying to make is, how is Russia a communist country when its tax rate is the way it is? Let's just look at a couple more of these metrics, shall we? GDP to debt ratio. So let's take a look at this. Let's see here. Let's see. List of countries by public debt. By tax revenue to GDP ratio. Let's see here. Okay. So America's debt to GDP ratio is over 100%. Russia's is 20%. So once again, somehow that's the case. Is it's a communist country. It's a communist country. I think I looked this up. I think I actually looked this up. Okay, government spending as percentage of GDP. I think it actually is higher in the U.S. Okay. So government expenditure percent of GDP. So Russia's is 36.5%. The United States is 38.5%. So public spending in America is higher than in Russia, relatively speaking. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. We're going to talk about, like, we get this cope here that, like, Russia's this communist country that... Now, does Russia have a state-directed economy? Yes, there's a lot of state capitalism in Russia. I'm not denying that. But it's just so dumb, like, that this is what we're supposed to believe. Okay. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Where is it? What's CNN saying? If you can actually control the economy, then you can probably move a little bit faster than other countries out there. The West will have more sustaining power. So a little faster. Okay, but guys, how is Russia able to ramp up their war economy in, like... Okay, so they're saying here that they ramped up the war economy, but the U.S. is going to ramp it up faster. But they've had 2 years to do it, and they're still behind. And in another 2 years, they're going to be even more behind. So their staying power means that they will be reaching 50% of Russia's production within 4 years of starting. Okay. Like, none of this makes sense. Russia's output is 24/7. I mean, immense. We should not underestimate their will to outlast us with patience and with resilience. Intelligence officials believe no side is poised to make any large gains. Okay, so it's not going well, but it all depends. Russia has been recently targeting Ukraine's domestic defense production with its long-range weapons. Well, Ukraine doesn't have air defenses. Russia's producing 130 long-range missiles per month. So No, I said Russia has a state-directed economy. It's not a socialist economy though. The state has a lot of intervention in it, but it's not this. It's not what like they're trying to portray it like it's a communist country that has no supply and demand, that has no any of this. Let's see here. Russian transformed economy. The war has transformed economy. Now defense is the largest sector of the Russian economy, and oil is paying for. Is that true? Is oil paying for it? Russian state. Let's see. What percentage of Russian state revenues actually come from oil? Because I think Russian oil and gas budget revenue is down 24% in 2023. So the amount they get for gas is it's becoming less of their budget. I'm not sure what it's at now, but it is falling. The amount of their money that comes from oil and gas, and the amount that goes to let's see. I'm just trying to find where the percentage is oil. But the point is, it's going down. It's going down, and other industries are being built. It's not like their economy is. It's substantial. But Canada has lots of oil revenue, and it doesn't seem to do us any good. I think 6% as of 2022. Yeah, it's something like that. It is some amount of money, but not. It's not like their government budget is completely dependent upon it. Also, they're somehow able to like balance their budget. So short term, say the next 18 months or so, it may be unsophisticated, but it's a durable economy. It's unsophisticated. It's not like America. Okay, so yeah, 16%. So that's 16% of their budget that comes from oil and gas. That'll make all the difference, guys. That is what's fueling the Russian defense industry. Is that 16%? They're out of money. Where was the other one? Russian banks made record profits. This is Business Insider. Russian banks post 2023 profits record. So the economy is unsophisticated, though. They're unsophisticated. Their economy sucks. Like, this is pure cope. Like, guys, maybe you should take a look. Okay, so I've said this many, many times in my life, and this is the single most important lesson. And I want to just, this is my life advice as someone who's almost in my mid-30s now. The single most important thing to being successful and happy in life is learning to take the L. Is learning to say, I fucked up, I lost, this was a bad decision, this was a bad call, I need to make a change. Doing this and just trying to come up with excuses for why, like, you're losing the production war, and like, this is not how you deal with it. Like, you don't go to Copesville. Like, the U.S., I think, in Europe has to take a long, hard look at itself and say, what is going wrong? Why are we unable to produce this shit? Despite all the money that the U.S. spends on its defense industry. Why is that? And they won't, though. They will not, like, somehow America spends 10 times the amount of money that Russia does, but is out producing it 3-1 in artillery. Like you don't just, guys, you have to think about this. Like, there is no plan, though. There is no, like, they're going to expand it, but this is the way they think, that capitalism or whatever, Also, the U.S. defense industry is not capitalist. Is not capitalist at all. It's yeah. Why should Europe disarm itself over the status? What would you have Europe do in your opinion? Well, Europe is fucked. I mean, we can talk about that some other time, but the problem is, why is Russia my enemy? Because they don't allow gay marriage. That is honestly it. So, yeah. Russia could go broke, but it would require America. Russia is funding this war with the oil sales to India and China. I don't know. I mean, anyways, let's see here. What was next on the list? Oh yeah, we were going to cover Macron. I'm sorry, guys. It's just there's so much stuff going on. Okay, so to summarize it, Macron has been having a breakdown. Macron has been having, he's just gone full Soyjack. He's gone full Soyjack lately. Okay, so let's just go back and try to cover this. So Macron has been talking for quite some time about how he's going to assemble the Avengers. He said, we're going to get NATO together. We're going to get the gang back together. We're going to get the gang back together. NATO is going to go. Okay. Sorry, I have to stop looking at chat when I do these. It distracts me. We're going to get the gang together. We're going to go to Ukraine. And the plan is we're going to deploy NATO forces outside of Odessa. And if Russia launches an offensive to take Odessa, our troops are going to stand in the way of the people from Odessa. And when they do that, the Russians are going to shoot at them. And then once the Russians shoot at them, they're going to invoke Article 5 or 9 or whatever it is. And it's going to start World War III. That is Macron's plan he's been trying to do. Now, everybody said this was a bad idea. So, literally, the U.S. said no. Germany said no. I think, the Czechs are on board. Poland is a shit show at the moment because the foreign minister is on board, but Tusk is not on board, I think. So, they're just so Macron is I'm not going to rule it out, guys. We're gonna go it alone if necessary. I call it strategic ambiguity. No one knows what I'm going to do one day to the next. We're going to do that. We're pulling out all the stops, and it's going to be amazing. Let me see. Where's my Macron link? Did I not do the Macron link? Maybe I didn't. Okay. So, Macron said that there is no more red lines in Russia-Ukraine war. Everything is on the table. Okay, so to stop. Okay, so Gintas Nasada. Okay, made comments. If we start saying no, we'll not like this. We'll never make a decision. There can be no red lines. Is what Macron's been saying. There can be none. That includes everything. So I guess that means up to nuclear weapons. If Russia wins this war, European credibility will be reduced to zero. Well, I mean, once again, they could have just accepted the Istanbul deal. The Istanbul deal would have ended all of this. Once again, this is what I did a video on this a week or so ago. Sometimes you just have to take the L. okay, Ukraine lost Crimea, Luhansk, and Donetsk. That sucks. That really sucks. But is the logic to just like go in and keep throwing like good money after bad and to just say we're going to have this retarded war that is just going to drag on for years and get hundreds of thousands of people killed and destroy Ukraine? Or are we going to take the L and move on and try to figure out like a plan going forward? Apparently not. Okay. Europe should not draw red lines. I want Russia to stop this war. I am not gonna. I think he said I'm not gonna negotiate. He said I will negotiate with a Russian president, whoever that might be. They're still talking about regime change. We're gonna hopefully have regime change in Russia. There'll be a new president who Macron will be able to talk to. So that is that is part of Macron. Now, Putin responded to this in typical Putin fashion. Okay, so Putin said, let me see if I can find this. Okay, so Putin said, as for the states saying they have no red lines with Russia, they should realize Russia has no red lines with them either. Yeah, that's not good. This is where we're at. So Putin's been referencing nuclear weapons. Like, is this really what we want? A nuclear war over Iran? Sorry, not Iran, Ukraine. It's just... So what is the plan? That realistically, how many okay, let's say if France wanted to do this. How many troops could France realistically send to the EU? To Ukraine. How many troops could they send? How many troops could the British send? How many troops could anyone who's not America send? Like, and with what equipment? And like, I just feel like I'm sure they're well trained and their personal equipment is probably okay, but you have the same logistical issues, and this is implying like the Russians just don't have. And once again, I ask this question, and I ask this question a lot of the time. If you were to have a 100% no fraud, no manipulation election, who is more likely to win re-election, Putin or Darkside Brandon? Do you think with no coercion, a larger percentage of the Russian people would vote for Putin, or a larger percentage of the American people would vote for Biden? I just want you to consider that question for a minute and just wonder. Because I think it's I don't think it's a hard one. I don't think it's a hard one to think about. It's like how they call Bukele is like a dictator because actually we'll do a little field trip. Bukele proved once again that he is a Giga Chad. So Bukele said, just let me deal with Haiti. Get out of here, you F-slurs. I am the Chad in the room. We can fix it. We need a UN Security Council resolution, the consent of Haiti, and we need our expenses covered. But we're going to go to Haiti, and we're going to fucking fix this mess. We're going to lock everybody up. We're going to use death squads on the gangs. But, like, just let him do it. Like, he's the only one who's, like, of people who have actually gotten things done, is there anyone who's gotten more stuff done than Bukele? Like honestly, give him the money. Give him all the money. Give him all of the, like, the Haitian foreign aid money. Give him weapons and just let him deal with Haiti. Like, this is the only, even if this is just posturing, this is the only sane plan I've heard so far. You know what else is funny? The Dominican Republic built a massive wall along the border. Now, interesting fact is that Putin has said that he prefers to deal with Biden. He also said that he prefers to deal with Hillary, because he basically said that they're like, he understands them. He said Trump is an unknown factor and he has trouble reading him. So, yeah, Milei is doing a hell of a job in Argentina. He's doing great. Someone was talking about North Korea. I don't think I said I like North Korea. I don't like North Korea. I just meant that Russia isn't stupid for buying weapons from them if they're selling them. That's all I meant. I don't like commies. People give me shit periodically for not liking communists, but I don't. Communism is bad. I'm sorry if that's like a neocon position. So Macron wanted to get this together, then he kind of backed down like a bitch, and now we're just kind of back in the middle of no man's land, trying to figure out what he's gonna do. Okay, so let's see here. So that is most of the stories we're gonna go through because I didn't want to do work today. Well, it's not that I just can't focus at work, really. To be perfect, I don't think anybody can realistically predict Trump will do once in power. So, as best as I can determine, Trump's foreign policy is this: act really tough, give the impression you're going to go all in, and then offer your opponent an honorable way to bow out. So, is just to go really hard, really strong, and then give your opponent an ability to just bow out and save face. Is how I view kind of Trump's thing. Like, people are like attacking him for saying that he's going to end the Ukraine war in the day and stuff like that. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. The point is, like, that's how bargaining works. Like, when you go into a bargain, you don't. Maybe I'm just like stupid because I've seen this a lot lately. Oh no, actually, sorry. Side note. What I'm thinking about. So when Trump said that, like, if NATO doesn't pony up, then the U.S. isn't going to come save them. In Europe, they're convinced that Trump is going to pull out of NATO. Like, I don't get that impression at all. I think Trump just basically was doing a business thing and just saying, like, you guys got to pay up. Or, like, we're not going to bail you out. I think it was more just kind of a warning and him trying to, like, tell them it's a reality check. I don't really get how him saying you guys have to give the money that you promised to give, or there's no reason why we should defend you. Okay, I'll look at that later. Okay, so we're gonna look at so I just have been having trouble focusing. As I said, I have sleep apnea. It's been getting worse over time. Now, I did a test and I was actually looking at my results. So I think they had said you have a sleep apnea index of like 60 and 30 is severe. So yeah, I don't know. They're like, how are you even like alive at this point? And like, because of spite, because I have the Lord, and I have the blessings and strength of the Lord Jesus Christ. So we're going to look at a couple of these things. And we're going to, okay, so this is from Bruegal. So sanctions against Russia will worsen its already poor economic prospects. Sanctions coming on top of long-standing domestic shortcomings are gradually weakening Russia. So this is May 2023. The Russian war economy macro. The Russian economy has performed better than many expected since the war in Ukraine, though the financial burden will be felt for some time. Yeah, it's okay. So that okay. I'll talk to you later, Fritz. Have fun watching The Office. Okay, so we have NPR. Here we got some cope here. We got some copium that we're gonna go look at first. The sanctions against Russia aren't working yet. Okay, so we have this. The Russian economy is still working, but the sanctions are starting to have an effect. Why the sanctions aren't working yet? And then we have. What was this? Is this also from NPR? I'm just trying to look at this. Still entering. Oh no, that's sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. I have a lot of links. You can see it in the description of this. Okay. Russia's economy is going strong despite sanctions from the U.S. and its allies. Let me see. Is this the one where they talk about rogue states? Because there's one where they talk about like rogue states like India and Brazil as being the reason it's gone bad. Okay, here's from CNBC. So let's take a look at this. The West is trying to destroy Russia's economy, and analysts think it could succeed. So that was from March 3rd of 2022. 2022. This is from 1 year later. Oh, okay, there's the last back in the HTML. Sanctions on Russia crude oil have failed completely. Yeah. Then we have sanctioned Russian tech is still entering. The sanctions did nothing. The sanctions did nothing. Let's see here. What else do we have here? So there's a couple ones. We have this from The Guardian. No, we'll get to The Guardian in a second. We have Bloomberg. Sanctions will break Russia's economy in the end, Germany says. It's going to break it. He can't keep going much longer. He can't keep getting away with this. And then, like we have, Russia's whack-a-mole economy is working as Putin's sails to what? Survives an economic blitzkrieg. It's budget oil revenues from sanctions. Okay, so yeah, it's we also have from The Economist, Western sanctions will eventually impair Russia's economy. Then we have Russia outsmarts Western sanctions as China is paying attention. It's rough, man. It's fucking rough. Russia's economy is immune to sanctions. I think this is from The Economist. Yeah, this is from The Economist. Russia's economy is immune to sanctions. That was bad. And as I've said, and I'd be honest, I thought the sanctions were gonna fuck Russia. Like, I thought that they were dead in the water. I thought that was gonna be like the turning point, and that was going to be ultimately what stopped Russia in its advance. That there were certain things it was dependent upon Western Europe for that they wouldn't have access to. But I was completely wrong about that. I was completely I think everyone was surprised by that. Now Russia has some inflation issues, and there's kind of some other stuff like that, but it is like going is going along. We have some other stuff. Same. So Russia is running out of ammo. How much longer can it keep fighting? How much longer? Russia dramatically increased weapon production in 2023 despite sanctions. It's rough, man. It's rough. We have Forbes. When will ammunition shortage silence Russia's artillery? And this is from April of last year. And then from Forbes, we have from our good friend David Axe. Russian artillery guns are getting cocky as Ukraine runs out of ammunition. Yeah. So I'm trying to like make a point here. Like that there's no there's no sense of irony. There's no like we were wrong. Maybe there's a we were wrong. Let's see, is wrong in this article. No, there isn't. Like literally all of these people did. So there's some interesting things. So David Glance, is it named David Glance? Is it David Glance? No. Yeah, Glance. That Glance. So David Glance, what they were interviewing him. So from my understanding, none of the Western leadership interviewed him. Does anyone remember who's the name of the guy who's like the most accomplished scholar on Soviet tanks? I can't remember his name, but he's written multiple books, like The Complete History of the T-72. And if someone knows his name in the chat, they didn't talk to him. They didn't talk to like any of the experts, like who know stuff about Russia on this. They're like, why would you want to talk to the guy who's like the expert on tanks? I can't remember his name. I'm trying to remember what his name is. I can't remember his name. 3 reasons most analysts were wrong. Oh, okay. Well, here's actually a bit of self-awareness. Believes that some Russian narratives were making their way into Western analysis that have been promoting for the last 30 years. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember. There was an article from a little while ago that was also insane. I can't find it, but basically they were saying like how the modern M1 Abrams is better than the stuff they were using. That was better than the Iraqi tanks. So, I mean, like Red Effector, they seem to understand this a lot better than these assholes do. So, I think that's about it. That's the show for the week. I'm not sure if there's anything else, but I just kind of wanted to go through like some of the insane stuff that was going on. Granted, there's less like big news this week, but And once again, keep in mind, all these sources that I'm using, this is NPR, this is Forbes, this is Newsweek, this is, and they're the ones who are saying this. It's not Russia Today. It's not Breitbart. It's not some random trolls on poll. So, the links to all of this is in the description if you want to look at any of it. God bless everybody, and have a good